Hi, everybody. It's Jennifer Rowe, certified life coach, co founder From Fat to Finish Line, and podcaster of Fab and Flawed. So, if you're joining me for the first time, I'm a life coach that answers questions each week from people like you who have questions about relationship issues, um, health issues, losing weight, career, whatever it is that is on your mind. I'm here to help. So, with all of that said, first of all, I want to just apologize. I look a little rough. I sound a little rough. I feel a little rough. I'm just getting over COVID, but happy to say I'm on the mend and I'm feeling a lot better. And I just didn't want to wait any longer to get my message out to you and answer your questions. So this week, I'm gonna try something a little bit different. Usually, I present you guys with a PowerPoint while I'm talking, and I'm not sure if that's the most engaging way of doing things. So I figure I'd give another way another shot. So bear with me. Let me know if you like it this way, if you like me talking directly to you, or if you like to follow along with a PowerPoint. Just let me know what you think. But without any further ado, this week, a question came in. Actually, this was a question that came in from a really good friend of mine. We were talking about this, and with her permission, she's letting me share her question and kind of what we talked about. And she will remain anonymous as she requested. But in any case, the gist was her husband. She was telling me how her husband drives her crazy. He's a know-it-all. He's just kind of one of these guys who, whenever you tell something a problem to or whatever, he's like the first guy who wants to jump right in and give you advice and tell you what to do. And while she loves her husband, sometimes she doesn't really feel like she's being heard, so she's getting very frustrated. And I feel like this was a really great topic to bring up, because essentially what we need to do is learn how to build better communication so we can have better relationships. And what happens is, most of the time, we all think that we are great communicators. We think that we're really listening, but a lot of the times we're not really listening. We're doing a lot of talking. So today I'm going to go through some of the three common things that happen when we're communicating, and why we're doing it wrong, and maybe how we can fix it when we feel like we're not being heard by the other person. So the first thing is that um, like I was just saying about my friend, don't be a fixer. Okay, this is number one. So number one, I'm going to go over three different things today. Number one, don't be a fixer. What do I mean by this? Let's see. So here's a good example. Like, I remember, like, I used to have a really crappy boss I used to work for, right? And I'd go home to my partner and I would tell him all about how crappy my boss was, right? Like, she was a pain in the ass, but I didn't have a lot of power at that time. And I kind of had to take it, right? Sometimes you just have to take it. But when I got home at night, all I wanted to do was vent, right? I wanted to vent. I wanted my partner to say, wow, she sounds like a nightmare. She sucks. You're right. Whatever. I just needed a little validation. But instead, as soon as I'd be like, oh, my boss is an asshole, my partner would jump in and it would be all kinds of suggestions: get a new job, go to human resources, tell her off, you have to stand up for yourself. And I was like, no, I don't want to hear about all of that right now. I just want you to tell me it sucks. And yes, maybe some of those things would be really great advice if I was looking for it. So I think we all tend to do this, right? Sometimes we tend to want to fix the problem. And the thing is most of us really just want to be heard for the most part, especially at first. Like, if somebody's coming in hot and they want to like rant and rave, they don't want you to necessarily fix it. So definitely gauge to see where your person is at. Do they want to be fixed, or do they just want to be heard? And then at some point, a lot of times people will come back and say, so what do you think? What do you think I should do? That's the time that you come in and you offer the advice. And now, if you're on the other side of this, if you're the person who's always like trying to talk to a spouse or a friend or whoever, and they want to fix it, what you might say to them is, even before you start your vent, I love you so much. I know that you're going to want to help me and try to fix this, but I really don't want it to be fixed right now. I just need to vent. Thank you so much. And then this way, this person kind of, you have to communicate to that person too, what you need. The next thing that comes up very often is this idea of people being validated. And what I mean by that is, have you ever been in the middle of a story and somebody jumps in right away, like, I know what you mean. So this is why I call for number two, like, don't me too quickly. So when I say this, it's kind of like, you're telling a story and maybe you're like, oh, I went on this awful date last night with this awful guy at this awful restaurant. And before you could get your next sentence out, your friend's jumping in with, oh my God, I had a horrible day too. And I know exactly what you're talking about. And holy crap, blah, 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 blah. Don't do that. We don't like it, right? You don't like it when you get a story interrupted and then you're waiting and waiting. And you're like, what the fuck just happened to my story? Now this person's off to the races and you're like, knee deep in their experience when all you wanted to do was share your own experience. So keep this in mind when you're talking to other people. And I think we do this just like out of a few different reasons, right? Number one, we want to validate the person we're talking to. We want to be like, yeah, me too. I understand what you're going through. I totally get you. You know what I mean? So there is that, really, like, I think good place that kind of, trigger comes from. And then that urge also comes from is we get excited because now we've been tapped into something that we have, a memory or whatever, and we want to share that. Now our tails are wagging, right? But the thing is your friend started the conversation and it's kind of you take away the power from that person. Let that person finish the conversation. Let them be heard. Remember, right now it's not about you. Try not to be so anxious to share your story. And then when that person's done sharing, is the appropriate time for you to come back around and say, hey, wow, that's really funny. That reminds me of something that happened to me. Now, of course, there are definitely times where this is like, you want to do this, right? Like if your friend is living in a shame spiral because they got scammed, say, and you went through something similar, and your friend is really like, just feels like, how could this happen to me? How could this happen to me? Of course, there's a place for you to share that, oh my goodness, you're not alone. Don't feel ashamed. I was there too. That's, really helpful to people. So there's nothing wrong with sharing. It's just making sure it's the right timing. Let your person get out what they have to say first. And if you're the type of person who's on the other side of it, where somebody's always cutting off your story and you're getting, kind of a little bit fatigued with it because you're frustrated, you want to be able to share what you want to share, then it's up to you to also communicate. So what I do in this situation is if I'm starting a story and somebody jumps on top of my story, then I say, hey, you know what? I can't wait to hear all about that. But listen, I was in the middle of saying something, and let me just get my story out before I forget what I was telling you. Number three, don't be the devil's advocate. Don't be the devil's advocate. Do you know what I mean by this? So this is when like you're sharing something really, like you're pissed off, maybe you're, venting about your boss, right? You come home, my boss is an asshole, blah, 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 dot, 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 dot. And the person you're venting to puts themselves in the boss's shoes and says, well, maybe your boss has a point. Your boss has to worry about, a $2 million bottom line budget or whatever bullshit. In that case, in this instant, I don't give a shit about my boss. I want you to hear me. You know what I mean? It's not about whether or not that person was justified or not justified, right? It's about my feelings. And the minute you start to defend someone else and play devil's advocate in that moment, is the minute you're literally telling your friend, loved one, whoever you're talking to, that their feelings don't matter. You've completely invalidated their feelings. And on top of it, you're making them feel guilty for having their feelings. And now you're putting them in a combative mood, right? Because now I got to prove to you why my boss really is an asshole, right? And again, like, there's a time and place for this. Like, let that person have their say. Let them finish what they have to say. Let them get it all out and then say, very gently, do you mind if I play devil's advocate? They might say, sure, but like gauge your friend. Do you want to be right? Or do you want to be right there for your friend? You know what I mean? And sometimes it's like you don't have to play devil's advocate. And again, there's times and places for this. I mean, certainly like, you know, use your gut instinct when it's like really warranted. If you have two siblings that are fighting with each other and you're trying to keep the peace between them, then there's a place to do this. But it's, again, tread gently. I mean, I know I don't like it. I don't like it when I am just in a place where I want to bitch and moan about something. I don't need you to tell me why that person's toxic behavior is justified because they were abused as a child. And believe me, I get it. I'm a life coach. I'm very empathetic. I can see the other people's side of the story. And all of these three rules I'm talking about only comes from my own personal experience. I want to be a fixer. I want to help people see the other side so they don't think it's just all about them, so I get it, but it's just kind of picking your place. Now, if you've got someone in your life that always plays devil's advocate, you need to be also very clear with them. Like, listen, I don't want to hear about why this person might be okay. I don't want to see all sides of the story right now. I just need to vent and I need to be heard. So, with all of that said, here's some final thoughts. Like I said, there's exceptions for the rule for all three of these rules that I said. Number one, when it comes to being a fixer, many times people will come to you and say, I want your advice. Right. And there are times where it's really warranted, right? If somebody's really like venting about, a kid that's not cleaning their room and you have the keys to get kids to clean their rooms, then certainly at some point you're going to say, hey, I got something I want to share with you, right? But again, this is like, it depends on circumstance. You're going to know when that's appropriate. Number two, like I said earlier, sometimes sharing a story with a friend, like sometimes that Me Too moment is really important and necessary. Like, again, if someone's, being taken advantage of or scammed, or somebody feels like they're like all alone in this world and they're the only ones who've ever experienced this, and you actually have a story that's going to let them know that they're not alone. I mean, come on, that's what friends are for, right? But again, pick your time, let that person have their say, really be in tune with it. Number three, sometimes it is helpful to play devil's advocate. As much as I hate it, when certain friends of mine do it, I know that at some point they will do it, and it helps me to see a bigger picture. But again, it's like picking your time, and right in the middle of the heart of the battle, when they're really like coming at you hot about something, may not be the time, right? Resist the urge to tell people, I told you so. And I didn't really go into depth on this, but if you love the person you're having a conversation with, the last thing you want to do is make them feel shittier. Like, I never understood people get like great satisfaction over, I told you so's, right? They already know. You don't have to rub it in their face. And at the end of the day, you're going to want to just try to speak less, listen more. When in doubt, hold space, as we do as life coaches. And holding space means shutting your mouth, letting that person talk, and really, really listening. You don't have to say anything. A lot of times people just want to be heard. And that's about it. I don't know. Did you like this without the presentation, or let me know? So do me a favor, subscribe to my channel. Still really brand new. Every new subscription makes me happy. Follow me on Instagram at Jen Rowe Coaching. You could find me at the Fab and Flawed podcast on iTunes and Amazon Music and wherever you listen to your podcasts. And as always, please DM me or leave a message below. Send me a note. Let me know what kind of questions you have that I can answer for you. And I hope you have a great day, a great rest of the week, and I'll see you next time. Bye.